podcast. I'm your host, Mari Reesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with David Sidoni, CEO and founder of How to Buy a Home platform. Please enjoy David Sidoni. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today I'm chatting with David Sidoni, CEO and founder of How to Buy a Home platform and former show business guy, which I'm sure you'll go into some more details about, but welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Creativity is one of my favorite topics.
I love that. It's one of mine too. Hence the podcast. So
I hope so.
Exactly. Well, why don't you take a couple of minutes and let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are, what you do, how you got to where you are today, and where you came from.
Right now, because I have a showbiz background, this is my third act where I'm getting to take everything I've ever learned in my entire life and give back. The incredibly long story is, as a junior in high school, I was all set to take my soccer scholarship and go play Division I. And then my senior year, they opened a high school of the arts on my campus. And I had been a performer while I was playing soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So I quit soccer my senior year.
Hmm.
My dad was like, dude, what are you going to do after you graduate? So he gave me 2 years to give the showbiz thing a try.
Okay.
And 18 months in, I got a Disney movie called Newsies. That was a movie musical back in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
And that started my showbiz career. And over the next 10 years in my 20s, I danced with Michael Jackson, worked with Gene Kelly, did commercials, did television shows. I was on 90210, which was very popular back in the day. And then I became a television host. I was on a show called Roundhouse on Nickelodeon that was a big deal for teenagers in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And they had me doing all these events. And that was my thing for a long time. I was Pat Sajak Jr. on the kids' version of Wheel of Fortune.
Okay.
And somewhere in my late 20s, I decided I wanted more control over my life. So I got into real estate. Did everything you're supposed to do in that for about 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife looked at me and said, you're only happy when you work with the first-time home buyers. And I thought, well, social media is getting to be a big thing. This was back in 2018.
Sure.
So I did everything you could in social media. Looked at all the video stuff, reached out to all my contacts for shooting videos and editing videos. And as a little side thing, I did the podcast. And it turns out the podcast now has over almost 2 million downloads.
Oh my goodness.
Is helping tens of thousands of first-time home buyers every single year. And, you know, I know a lot of people who do voiceovers and who are behind the microphone, but I was never really that guy. And so the culmination of everything, here I am now educating and empowering first-time home buyers on a microphone, writing scripts, creating things that are edutainment.
And I love that.
It's been a really wonderful journey.
Amazing. And welcome to the third act, I guess. That is fantastic. Just the evolution of, I mean, I can see where a performance background set you up perfectly for being working in real estate and having to talk to a lot of people and experience the creative collaboration when people are buying a home, because that is a journey in and of itself. When you think about creativity, what does it mean to you to be creative?
Well, for me, there's been several evolutions.
Sure.
I used to be a creative person in the evening, and now as I've gotten older, I'm more of a creative person in the morning. And so one of the big things for creativity is when you get to be out of your 20s and you're not just running on pure adrenaline.
Sure, yeah.
You have to kind of figure out how and when to harness it. And then what's crazy is the best way I've been a creative as I've gotten older is digging deep into all the things that I'm not, because structuring and scheduling and finding the times and when you're doing something that has a purpose,
Mhm.
suddenly you have a deadline. You can't just wait till tech week for the show where it all is supposed to come together. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
I did a lot of single camera shows when I was a television host that were like Entertainment Tonight style shows.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, what we used to call guerrilla filming. It was a cameraman, a director, and me just running around doing intros and outros, or also interviewing people. And the ability to think on your feet that quickly really set me up for the minute I see something, I can speak to it in a soundbite now.
Mm.
And that is a creative process. But a lot of people, when they think about creativity, they think, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to take this seed, and I'm going to flush it all out and make it the greatest thing ever. That's
Right.
wonderful. But
Yeah.
there are other ways that you can get people to see whatever it is that you want by learning how to take part of it and putting it into bite-sized chunks.
I love that. Absolutely. And with today's attention span, that's what we need. We need the bite-sized chunks for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine in these three very connected and different times of your life, creative challenges were pretty different. What were some of those creative challenges in each of these phases or times in your life that you faced, and how do you navigate them?
In the show business phase, in the performer phase,
Yeah.
um, there was the creative challenge of how do I highlight my best attributes, and then on my off time, how do I continue to work on the things that can elevate that?
Mm.
Some of my weaknesses.
Hmm.
And so, people always talk about it. It's so cliche that it's always a journey. You're always learning, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, if you don't believe me, go to any sports game.
Right.
Those guys are out there before the game
Yeah.
practicing.
Hmm.
And I mean, I believe I listened to an interview one time where Joe Montana was talking, and the guy played in 4 Super Bowls, and he's like, "Yeah, everyone thinks it's great that or won 4 Super Bowls," and he's like, "Yeah, I won 4 Super Bowls, awesome." And I think he played like a total of something like 43 minutes that he was actually on the field during all those games,
Right.
and it really made me realize, how much, especially coming up when I was training as a performer,
Yeah.
the biggest piece for me was when you are rehearsing something, you have to have the ability to have a mindset to be performing it full out.
Mm-hmm.
When you are practicing something, you have to practice it full out.
Mm-hmm.
And because the only way you're going to know if, from a dancer perspective, uh,
Mm-hmm.
here's the spot where I'm supposed to do a double turn. If I rehearse doing a double turn full out, like I'm being filmed or with an audience, maybe it turns into a triple. But I'll
Right.
never know that if I just mark it
Mm-hmm.
during rehearsal.
Sure.
So it's finding the creativity when you're the most sweaty and the most tired.
I
Um,
like that. Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. So when you get to that point of finding your creative spark to not market, to go full out maybe 20 times in a row, how do you then refuel or recharge that creative? Because as I have been in the performing world as well, and it gets depleted. And so how do you recharge your own creativity?
Um, this will show my age a little bit, but there's a really old I Love Lucy bit when they had some famous golfer on there showing her how to do a golf swing.
Hmm.
And he's like telling her 18 things before she swings, like bend your elbow, flex your knee, move your hip, pull in your chest, da da da. And she's like, If you're doing something 20 times in a row, you can think about a different thing every single time.
Yeah.
You're not just thinking about one thing. You can be improving any
Mm.
aspect of what you're doing every single time. If I'm doing a
Mhm.
piece of writing, I will go back and look at the writing and think, how does an 8-year-old read this? How does a
Mm.
grandma read this?
Yeah.
How does someone who's never heard of me read this? And how does someone who knows all of my work and was waiting for this new piece to come out read this?
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to trick yourself. And
Mm.
you have to trick yourself. I mean, I've heard great things from great performers say things like, what do you do when you're doing 8 shows a week on Broadway? And the guy says, there's someone out there that this is their very first Broadway show or their last Broadway show.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to think about whatever it takes. There's I feel like a lot of people who are being creative, once they get to a certain point, they start to the minutia of it starts to bother them.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a lot of self-analysis.
Mm.
What gets you going? Is
Mm-hmm.
it coming up with the idea? Because if it is, you need to spend some time on personal growth and figure out how do you execute things? How
Mm-hmm.
does one execute things? Look
Sure.
at other people who do all the boring stuff that you don't want to do because you love being creative. Mimic them so that you can finish projects because when you finish one, then you can go back to the thing you love, which is the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Those ideas, that idea generation piece. Yeah. So for you in your how to buy a home platform, tell us a little bit about this. How did like what is it there to provide and why do you like working with first-time home buyers the most?
Well, after 12 or 13 years in the real estate business and succeeding at multiple different levels, I realized that, for lack of a better phrase, the real estate industry is pretty much corrupt.
Mm.
And first-time home buyers get screwed. They
Mm-hmm.
are a cog, they are a number on the scoreboard, and they
Mm-hmm.
get treated with the worst service.
Mm.
And they're the people who actually need the most service.
Yeah.
So I dug deep into my creativity and tried to find the passion
Mm.
and a little bit of the how can I be the hero here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting. I started with how can I be the hero here? What can
Mm.
I do? Because I see this evil and how do I fix it? Yeah, wrong. Nobody gives a crap if you talk like that. I found this incredible book by a guy named Donald Miller called Story Brand, and it was about making them the hero. And if you
Oh,
want to take your creativity to help people,
yeah.
not to entertain, but to help people,
Sure.
you have to realize you're not the hero. Your role is Yoda, Dumbledore. You
Mm-hmm.
are the person that is guiding people, and
Mm.
they're the hero.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was an opportunity to help the little guy and
Mm.
help educate people. And because it started as a passion project and not a business plan,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people resonated with it. And so
Mm.
there are a lot of people out there getting the help and getting the clarity that they need
Mm-hmm.
because there's some dork on a microphone.
And that dork would be you. That's what you're saying.
Correct.
I love it. I love it. Well, you sound like someone who is easily inspired or generates a lot of ideas and ways to navigate them. And what, who or what inspires you these days?
Well, I'm a weird guy, in that I could talk at a sports bar about the NFL with more knowledge than most of the guys at the bar. And I'm also a gigantic Broadway show tunes nerd, more than most. Just check my feeds on my social media and my algorithms.
Uh-huh.
So for me, it's, you know, I actors today always talk about stories. Directors always talk about stories. I just want to tell stories. It's getting to the point where it's getting cliche and I want to punch them in the face. They all sound like college drama majors. But
Uh-huh.
I find stories that
Mm,
inspire me
yeah.
everywhere. Not
Yeah.
just in like my world right now is marketing.
Sure.
And so, you know what I mean? But my family and I are consistently watching shows that inspire us. Many of
Mm,
them are musicals.
hmm
And by finding something that moves me and then trying to figure out, do I have anything to offer where I can move people in the same way?
Mm,
I get inspired by things that aren't hitting you over the head, but things that are trying to pull you in and let you be a part of something.
mm.
I know there are people that can do that with music, and I know there are people can do that with, visual art or sculptures or,
Sure.
and I think that letting your emotions go and getting deeper sucked into something
Mm.
will then help you find ways to create those triggers in what you do for other people.
Mm. Yeah. So, what are some of those moments for you that fuel your own creative spark so that you can share it with others?
It's been strange for me where I'm at right now. My kids are a sophomore in college and a sophomore in high school,
Mm.
so we go see professional shows all the time.
Yeah.
um, but we also go see their productions and kids productions,
Hmm.
and watching the different uh just pure joy and energy of different performers. You go watch a Broadway show and I'm going, how is that guy doing that eight times a week?
Yeah.
Because right now I'm crying my eyes out right now.
Right. Yeah.
But I think keeping an open mind to see things is also great. A
Mm.
couple of years ago, under that same umbrella of when someone is taking the time to produce something and put it out there,
Hmm.
watching it with an open mind to see what an 8-year-old or a 14-year-old is doing. But then, like, my son was like, Dad, this show's awesome. You got to see this show. And it was a Broadway show about 9/11. And I was like, dude, really? And then we took a trip up to Seattle, and I said, fine, and got us 4 tickets. And we drove 2 or 3 hours to Spokane, I think.
Hmm.
And we went and saw the show called Come From Away.
Yeah.
And blew my mind. It
Mm.
was amazing. So it's cliche, but have an open mind at what's out there. And
Yeah.
you know, and as you get older, it's really nice because you get a filter. I
Mm.
can turn stuff off after 3 minutes if I know this person's trying, but it's not for me. You know?
Sure, sure. I can understand that. Absolutely. I'm curious, talking about keeping an open mind, is this something that you learned throughout the entertainment world, or was this something that, like, growing up, that was a part of your life, of like, you always keep an open mind? How did that come about in your life?
It was something that was taught to me by my parents.
Hmm.
And then in a very bizarre way, it was something that got instilled in me, um, for being ridiculed. As a
Mm,
person who was a jock
yeah.
and a big show choir idiot who then
Hmm.
turned into a Broadway idiot,
Hmm.
um, I got, a lot of times misconstrued, a
Yeah.
lot of times labeled incorrectly
Hmm.
in both worlds.
Sure.
And, I'd have to dribble around somebody and score a goal on them and then turn around and sing show tunes at them and go, you like that? And then from
Yeah.
the, and then from the showbiz side of things, you know, if I didn't grow up doing whatever they did, but I
Mm.
was still there, I had to find my moments.
Hmm.
And it because of that, I was completely open to
Yeah.
when anybody else came to me, I never judged them because I didn't want them to judge me.
Sure. Yeah. That easier said than done sometimes. But
Yes, indeed.
yes. Yeah. For individuals or people, and I'm sure you have come into your orbit, who feel less creative or are struggling to find their creative spark or voice, how would you encourage them to find creativity?
My answer is so boring and the most non-creative thing in the world.
Bring it.
Um,
Let's hear it.
as a dude who now is when I was in my 20s, I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to follow my passion and my heart, and I'm going to make a living at it. And I did.
Yeah.
Looking back now, between all those passion projects, I could have worked a lot harder in between and
Oh.
would have sustained a longer career and done, but I didn't because I was like, no, I'm not going to do the conventional stuff. Um, it's schedule your life,
Mm.
time block,
Hmm.
and I understand the creativity doesn't come at a certain just because your calendar says right now it's my creativity period from 7 in the
Hmm.
morning till not, but whatever it is. I mean, for me, it used to be pacing late at night and
Mm.
wearing, marks in the carpet, just pacing and writing and doing whatever I was doing. And now in my age, the first thing I do when I wake up is I tell myself, you're going outside and you're gonna snip the roses.
Mm.
And that 15 minutes, I get more ideas.
Mm.
Um, so it's not anything anybody wants to hear, but make those times. And then
Yeah.
here's the trick. If during those times you're not creative, go do errands or busy work or other stuff that your life you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you take 2 hours a day to either be creative or do crap you have to do, then if you get creative at another time,
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about your laundry, your bills, or other things because it's done. You can be creative there without the pressure of, God, I'm really feeling this right now, but I have all this other stuff to do. So,
Sure.
how's that?
I
A
love
better
it.
thing about creativity, time blocking.
Time blocking. But I think that's so, the thing is, I believe our creativity needs structure. If we're given a blank piece of paper and said, you can do whatever you want, for so many that feels paralyzing of like, I need some parameters or boundaries to work within. And so even if it's just time, starting there, that I believe is sometimes enough to spark something, or how you give yourself some structure and boundaries can help open creative opportunity in your
And
mind.
there's a structure that comes in like when people do sales and you don't every day you don't make a sale. So you have to create little rewards. I do the same
Right.
thing with people trying to buy a home. Like
Yeah.
if you're a year out, we're not going to be looking at homes for a year, but what do you do in that year to stay motivated, inspired, and excited? So if we're working on your credit score
Hmm.
and it's at 650 and you're reducing it because you're paying off debt here or there, or you're doing other things, well, when you hit 675, you have to celebrate it. Go out and buy an ice cream.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's the same thing when you're being creative.
Mm.
When you decide this is something I want to do, start at the end and back calendar the whole thing. If you're
Mm.
writing a script, if you're building, if you want to put up a show, whatever you want to do, start at the end and back calendar what would need to be done by what date. That way, in a week, in a month, or in a day, you
Yeah.
can write 5 lines of something and look at it and say, okay, I accomplished something today. I'm moving forward. And a lot of
Mm.
people don't like to, they don't think that's being creative. I'm not saying it is a deadline.
Yeah.
I'm saying that find those little moments along the way, those celebratory times.
Hmm.
You realize that you're moving towards something. That end date might move several times. That's
Mm.
fine, but if the only time you're excited about something is when you start and when you finish, it's absolutely the number one way to burn out.
Mm. Yes. Thank you for saying that and bringing that up, because that is so, so true, to have those mini milestones along the way to keep yourself recharged or getting a little dopamine as you complete something and spark that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's in my house. My wife knows. She's like, "What's going on?" I go, "I'm looking for the juice." That's what like I'm trying to find the juice, the inspiration to get going. Or she'll be like, "Hey, don't forget we have this," and I go, "Can't. I got the juice," and so then I don't have to go shopping or whatever. You
Yeah.
know.
I love that, figuring out what it is for you and how when it's present and alive, and you get into that space of creating, or whatever that secret sauce is for you, of putting things together to produce what you're working on. Yeah, I love it. Well, for people who are, since you are all about buying a home and how to buy a home, for people who are starting that journey, what are a few little pieces they could start to set up for themselves, or if they're just in the very beginning phase?
Similar to creativity, it's the starting.
Okay.
Um, the real estate industry has done a horrific job at offering up what's needed when you're a year out. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, a, a lot of people will, everybody waits too long. I've been doing this 6 years now. 72% of the people that come to us over the
Mm-hmm.
last 6 years that have said, we're 12 to 18 months out and we just want some tips on a plan,
Mm-hmm.
72% of them are under contract in 3.2 months,
Oh.
which tells me that the information out there is not helping first-time homebuyers to understand where they are in the process.
Okay.
Everybody's trying to do it on their own.
Yeah.
So the number one thing I tell people is start earlier than you think, because you're probably, because people who aren't thinking about buying a home, they probably aren't in a position, they don't have the money, they don't have the savings. But
Mm-hmm.
just find out, stop doing this on your own. You know, I tell people, don't try to be a heart surgeon and do your own surgery. Go
Mm-hmm.
find the best heart surgeon in your area.
Mm-hmm.
And the good ones will help you 12 months, 18 months ahead of time with
Mm-hmm.
just these little action steps you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's the biggest thing is stop trying to do this on your own and find someone who will help you and not make you feel like you're wasting their time because you're not going to buy a house in the next 30 days.
Mm. That is so important, that piece of the timing. I think we as a society, Western culture, is
Yep.
very fast paced right now. It's got to happen now. I need it now. I need it yesterday. Whereas this is, how do you marinate in the journey and the experience, similar to create the creative process.
There's 1,000 ways that you can do it, but everybody just thinks that when the time comes, okay, now I just want to hire somebody and we're just going to do it this way.
Hmm.
And it's like anything creative that you're doing. The
Yeah.
beginning process, when you were going all over all of your options to do it,
Hmm.
and you could sculpt that, paint that, write that,
Mm.
whatever, a million different ways. And then when you get to the end, then you go, okay, here's the final product. Well,
Hmm.
that had a lot of thought in the beginning. And the
Right.
problem with buying your first home is everyone does all those, that option period by themselves, and they
Mm.
only know 1/100th of their options. So you
Yeah.
have to talk to somebody who can go, you know, it's if you had the choice to, again, I'm going to say sculpting because I sure as heck never have. Uh,
Hmm.
if you had the option to sit there and take a piece of clay and think, okay, I'm gonna, maybe I can do this, I can do that. Or you had the option for a master to stand right behind you and give you 100 more options and then just let you go on your way. Why would you just do it, try to do it your way when you could do it with the wisdom of
Yeah.
someone who's done this hundreds of times?
Oh, I love that reminder. Speaks to that speaks to me. It resonates. So thank you.
Mentors, mentors and guides
Hmm.
are, every successful person I've ever met in every creative field that I've ever been around.
Yeah.
They all talk about mentors, guides, and teachers.
Hmm.
And buying your first home isn't just going to Amazon and press click. It isn't just walking into a grocery store and pulling a product off the shelf. You don't just need a checkout person.
Right.
You need a mentor and a teacher along the way. And I've never met a self-taught creative person who didn't lean on somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all have them in our life, whether they themselves were in the creative field or not, and how that informed or inspired or spoke to creative experience as well. So,
Well, it's fun because with what I'm doing, there are a lot of people that will come to me from the creative field because they're
mm,
like, I'm so scared of all this crap, David. Like, it's the wrong side of their brain. You know,
yeah.
we're talking finances and budgeting and
Mm.
credit scores, and they're like, dude, I don't do this. And
Yep.
so they come to me and I'll be like, okay, we're not hiring a financial loan consultant. We're just getting you a teacher, a professor, a mentor. And suddenly their brain switches and it's like, oh,
Mm.
okay. It's really fun. Like 8 months ago, someone reached out to me and we just started talking and I was helping them along the way. And all of a sudden I just started to get a little performer vibe and found out that, she was on the national tour of the Harry Potter show playing
Oh,
Hermione. And so I'm like, when you come to LA, let's hang out. I'm going to bring my family.
I
But
love
it's
it.
being able to speak to someone on in that same language.
Yes.
We all have to do certain things in life. And
Hmm.
when you can find someone who does that thing, you know,
Hmm.
it's I go to my car mechanic and I'm really have nothing in common at that point. I'm like, so I don't know. Does this one have a flux capacitor? That's all I know, you know? So when you find that mentor who has the education but also has a commonality with you and can provide you a service for something that you don't feel great about, it just
Hmm.
elevates the whole process.
It absolutely does. And she's lucky to have found someone who speaks her language. It sounds like it can navigate both worlds
Oh yeah,
seamlessly.
I was like, wait a minute. She's like, yeah, but it's gonna be tough. I'm on the road. I'm all, girl, I know you get per diem.
Yeah,
You you don't need to spend all that every day.
right. It's a great start. Good first steps for
Yep.
sure. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I have one last question.
Yes.
What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
It's funny I said it earlier. Juice. I feel there's a tingle, an invigoration.
Mm.
Um, I keep saying it, and for a while it became a drinking game on my podcast that every time I called myself old, you had to drink because the listeners were like, "Will you stop saying that, dude?" Um, but yeah, with the age, my wisdom it's physical
Yeah.
inside of me, and
Mm.
when I feel that moment, um, the the best advice I can give is explain that to your loved ones, to everyone around you, so that at that moment they understand it and you can isolate and you
Mm.
can build on it. Um, and the biggest thing that I learned during sales and when I started in real estate is the best time to be creative is right after you serve somebody.
Mm.
Because when after you serve somebody and you feel good
Mhm.
about that, as soon as you hang up the phone or that conversation ends or whatever, take your deepest, darkest passion project that you're most excited about and immediately go to that because
Mm.
the endorphins, the dopamine,
Mhm.
it's at the best place when you, as a human, we feel like we have helped others.
Mm.
Perhaps a
Mhm.
message we could give to our administration these days. Um,
Yes.
but that moment, I think a lot of people don't take advantage of as much as they should.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you for that reminder and everything you've shared today. It has been such a treat chatting with you. If people want to learn more about your podcast, the work you have out in the world, how could they go about doing that?
Howtobuyahome.com, everything's there.
Everything's there. Perfect. I'll put it in show notes so there's a link and people have easy access. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much. I love your mission. Keep going.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.